Welcome to the Traveling Professors. I'm Professor Bob.
And I'm Professor Sherry.
And together, we are
the Traveling Professors.
Welcome to show number 76, a cruise to Santorini and a walking tour of the island. This is one of two visits that we made to Santorini over the years. This is our first one, and I thought it would be a good way to show you what it was like if you take a cruise to Santorini and you're just there for the day. And to some extent, this was not planned. Our intention was, once we finished up in Israel, we were supposed to go to Port Said and then spend a couple of days in Egypt. When we came back from Jerusalem and boarded our ship, we were told that because of the presidential rioting in Egypt, they had presidential elections, they put off giving the news out immediately, put it off for a week, and the day before we're supposed to come into Egypt, they rioted. And so the cruise line decided that was not safe, so we did not go to Egypt, which, needless to say, was very disappointing. But on the other hand, I was glad that I had proposed in Athens, because I was planning to propose in Egypt. And when they told us we were going to Santorini and Mykonos instead, well, that was okay. Santorini was really a nice place that we wanted to visit anyway. Here is the map of our cruise. We were right here, which is where we were coming back from Jerusalem, and we were supposed to go to Port Said, but instead we head off to Santorini, and then we'll go to Mykonos, and then the tour picks up where it's supposed to. We should have left Egypt and then gone up to King's Landing, which is Dubrovnik, and then Ravenna, and then finish up in Venice. So we're going to Santorini. Now, one of the things that we had choices of is what kind of tours. Well, I wanted to go to Santorini because they have an excavated Minoan city at Akritiri. Well, unfortunately, a few months before, the roof had collapsed, killing a group of tourists, so that was closed, so we couldn't do that. So we ended up taking a bus tour of the island instead. So that was a little disappointing as well. And as you can see, it's a nice picture of Sherry and I on this cruise. And we're going to come in, you see where the anchor is, this is where we will come in to the island. Our ship is not going to dock there. They don't have docking facilities. And as a matter of fact, this whole area around the volcano is too deep for any anchors. So the ships have to just keep sailing. So they tender us off to this location here. Now here's a topographical view, which will give you a little better idea of what's going on. There's our port we'll be tendered into. We'll come in here and go back from up here. That's not a real port, but they do have facilities for the tenders to come in. Actually, this area right up in here is where, before Santorini became super popular, was the way most people came in. You would come in here and take the mule up to the top and then tour the island. So we will come up here and we'll go up to right about this spot to the Santos Winery. So we get a little wine tour, get a chance to buy some wine, but it has a magnificent overlook over the caldera. And then we will get on a bus and we will basically follow this line right through here and then end up jogging up and then going to Oye, and then coming back after our little tour of Oye back to Fira, and then after we've spent time in Fira, then we go back to the ship. The ship came in right around sunrise, and we will leave probably about 5 o'clock in the evening. Now, of course, today you see you can fly in, but you can see the topography. This is the highest, you can see where the highest parts are located. But here's a nice aerial view of the island. So we came in right through here to this point, and then you see how everything is built right along the edge of the caldera. Now people go, well, the volcano, which they say is right here, that's not true. This whole area around the edge is caldera. If you were to go to Mount Vesuvius or Mount Etna or any active volcano and walk up to the very edge to look down into it, that's this edge right here. This is one of the greatest volcanic eruptions in recorded history. This took place in 1600 BCE and changed the course of the Minoan civilization for sure and the whole Aegean region. I think it blew something like 9 or 10 square miles of debris into the sky. It still has eruptions. When we visited this the second time, we went and took a tour of this volcanic island. And they have seismometers everywhere, and they usually have 200 or 300 seismic quakes, small ones, at the time. And the last time it erupted was in 1952, or in the early 50s. And it destroyed almost all of the towns that are right here along the edge. So let's get on our ship and come into the island. Well, I got up at sunrise so that I could get some pictures of us arriving in Santorini. Unfortunately, the sun in the east would rise right right into my face, so those pictures didn't turn out very well. So here we are coming in past the main part of the first island. There's a little bit of the volcano. And then we go by the volcanic section. And then here's a view of Thera up along the crater edge, and the spot over here is where we'll come back. So here on this map, you see what we're going to end up doing. We're going to come in, and they will tender us into this port, and there we'll be put on our tour buses to disperse over the island. And I would also point out that we weren't the only ship diverted to Santorini as a result of the problem in Egypt. There were 3 large cruise ships that came in. This place was stuffed with people. So we get off our tender, and here we are in this port. This is where the ferries come in. So they have the customs and the docking areas, and you can rent cars and all sorts of different things. So we come out, begin looking for our bus, and then here's looking out into the area where the ships are located. This is our ship right here. And then there's another one that came in right after us, which is much bigger. I think our ship carried less than 1,000 people. So here we are getting on our buses. Actually, even the regular bus service on Santorini uses these tourist-style air-conditioned buses. And then here's a look of what we have to climb out of. So we're at sea level, and we're looking up that we have to get all the way up to the top there. And it is a torturous, winding route. It wasn't so bad going up. Coming back down, it would probably be a little scarier. And then we get about halfway up at one of the switchbacks, and here's a view of one of the ferries that has come in, and another cruise ship moving into the port. And then this is a little better view with the sun being up slightly of where the volcanic vent is located. And then here's a view of the eruption in the 1950s. The devastation of the towns was caused by the earthquakes. And then here's the side of the wall of the crater edge as we're going up to the top. This is all volcanic ash and pumice. Fortunately, this is very good for growing crops. Santorini is noted for its wineries. And they used to export this because it makes great cement as well, but it has been illegal to export this volcanic ash from the island for quite some time. Then when we got up to the top and we're heading off towards the Santos Winery, here's the vineyards. And I want you to notice that it's not like a regular vineyard. Because of the way the island is built, there aren't any real trees to block the wind, and it blows all the time. So they actually make round enclosures, and the grapes grow along the ground. And the edge of the enclosure protects the grapes from being damaged by the wind. And then we come to the largest winery on the island, the Santos Winery, and they show us all the facilities, and then they walk us down to the shops and the little tasting area. So here is the shop. You can buy all kinds of stuff. Actually, Sherry and I bought only 1 bottle of Santorini wine, and we used it at our wedding, which was really fun. The people you see in the middle of this picture, that's my oldest daughter, Laura, and her husband, Matt, who is on the trip with us as well. Unfortunately, they did some different things on the island than we did, and got some pictures of the beaches. And then here's the area where you have the tasting, which is the vantage point on the edge of the crater. And you can look down. There's our ship down below, and the little volcano and everything else. And then here's a view towards Oye, which is way down at the other end of the island. So that's where we're headed to next. Well, here's our route where we're leaving from the Santos Winery, and we're going up to Oye. So we get a nice view of the other side of the island. And once you leave Santos, there's a view up to the highest spot on Santorini, which is the monastery of St. Elias. But we didn't get a chance to go up there and see that. Then all along the road, here is the kind of views that you have. People are building houses by the beaches. There's a whole series of beaches around here. There's black beaches. There's a red beach on the other side by Akritiri towns. And here we are on the beach. Now, after we finished our tour and they let us out in Thera to spend a couple of hours, Laura and Matt took another bus and went down to the beach. So here's the beach that they went to. And there's Laura standing in the water. It's a custom of the family to stand in water. There are several pictures that you'll see at another time with Sherry and her in the water. And then we continue on, and you'll see all the views from up here. Sometimes the view's a little scary, looking down from the road. And then here's another section as we're heading towards Oye. You see all the volcanic terrain. Another nice cut where they've cut the road through. And then here is a little view coming around the corner of one of the mountains. And you can see Oye. And it's in the spot where a lot of people like to be here for the sunset, because you can see the sun setting directly into the Aegean. And then when we get to Oye, here's the parking lot, and then we begin our walking tour. So we're coming into the backside of the one of the churches, the main church in town. And as you can see, it's a little crowded. Narrow streets to begin with, but it's pretty crowded. And here we are at the area in front of the church. You see the church bells, beautiful blue colors. Now, on Santorini, the roofs of the homes are usually blue. On Mykonos, they're usually kind of a orangish color. And here is the mosaic over the entrance to the church. And there's the inside the church, looking towards the Iconostasis. And then here's another interior shot. You'll find a lot of times that there's a lot of fishermen from this area that you'll find the candelabras will have sometimes ships on them. And that's a commemoration that either someone was lost at sea or somebody survived from a storm at sea. And here's the beautiful Iconostasis with the silver coverings, which is very Russian, over the icons, leaving just the face exposed. And then there's a view up into the dome. You see Christ. And then it's back out to do a little more wandering around. So we're going down towards where you can see the coast. You can see the little blue dome ahead. And we go by a bookstore whose cat was taking a nap on the used book sections that were €5. And then next to it was this artwork showing these gentlemen climbing up a ladder, which was a theme that we saw frequently in different areas of the Greek Isles. And then we come out, and then this is probably the most famous picture from Oye. Here's the beautiful blue dome looking out into the caldera. And you can see the other side, there's the mountain with St. Elias' monastery. And at this area, they also have part of an old Turkish fortress. And so here is the Turkish fortress that you can go over to. I did not do that. There was a little narrow space to walk across. Sherry did it though. And so here's a picture of Sherry taking a selfie. The town of Oye back behind her. And then here's a picture that I took. And then there's a picture that she took of me. So we took a general shot of the town of Oye. And you can see why you have a major earthquake. There's going to be a problem for these towns because they're stacked one on top of the other. But you can see all the white and blue. And so that was our little trip to Oye. And then here is our route back to Fira. We took a little bit different route, and it's shorter, and we will spend the rest of our time in Fira. So on the way back, we driving around the countryside. Here you see one of the little churches. Well, it's a Greek Orthodox island. Each Greek Orthodox person has a patron saint. And sometimes families will make little chapels by their houses. And then on those feast days, they'll invite their neighbors to come in. And the old joke is amongst Orthodox that if you have a big island with a little luck, there's somebody having a festival every day and you don't have to make dinner all the time. And then along the way, we come by some of the windmills that would have been all over these Greek islands in the past. And then we come into the backside of Fira. And then we go up from the bus station, which is down the street. We come up to the top. So here you have the Atlantis Hotel. I thought that was really great to have the Atlantis Hotel. And when Sherry and I went back the next time and spent a couple of days, that's where we stayed. And right next to it is their basilica, their beautiful church. And we had an unusual situation that took place here. It was Sunday, but it was in the afternoon, so we missed church. But they always have leftover bread because the communion, you have pieces of real bread, so they're chunks of it. And it was still there, so we went in and said a few prayers and picked up a couple of pieces of communion bread. And we looked up, and Sherry and I swore that ceiling was just an incredible purple color. Now, it is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so the light is coming in differently. And it just struck us, and we looked so forward to seeing that when we went back. And when we went back, it wasn't purple at all. It was just a regular surface. So I don't know what was wrong with us, but I swear, and so does she, that was purple. And then you look over and you see Fira's view. Here is the view looking out to the volcano. That's our boat right there on the left. Then here's another shot of several other boats. Not only did they have 3 cruise ships, but there were other charter boats there as well. So we went and had lunch, and here's the restaurant which overlooked the caldera where we had lunch, which was great. And then we had a couple of things that we wanted to see. We were going to see the Akritiri Museum. So this is the museum that housed the artifacts from the Minoan city that was excavated in the 1970s. But as we're walking by, this is a shopping mecca. There is all sorts of things to purchase. And we saw this place called Greco Gold. And we looked in the window and it had all kinds of really interesting jewelry. And so we decided to go in because we didn't have wedding bands picked out. And so we met the 2 brothers here. It was the oldest jewelry store on Santorini. And we became very good friends with them. We picked out our wedding bands with a Greek key symbol, and it has a rotating central band. And then when we went back 5 years later, we bought our 5th anniversary presents there as well. So then after picking out our wedding bands, we went down to the Museum of Prehistoric Thera. Would be the original island's name, Thera. Now it's called Santorini. And there's the museum. And I'm just going to show you a few pictures. So here's one of the rooms with the blue monkey. They were able to save off of one of the rooms and bring it into the museum to protect it. Then here we have a set of, these are standardized measures for wine and oil. And then here you see the different types of pottery. Usually there's all sorts of sea creatures on them, octopi and what have you. And then they had this. When the volcano erupted, it erupted and the people fled. And then it seemed to stop. And they went back. And actually you could see in Akritiri where they had started to clean the streets. And then it went off a second time, and that's when it blew up. And the gentleman who was a jeweler had evidently left this gold creature behind, and they found it in a box in the floor when they excavated the site. So it's one of the few pieces of gold that survived the eruption. We've done all this, and it's time to go back to the ship. So we have to get into the street. As you can see, it's just crowded as can be. And as you walk the streets, they have painted on the risers that this is the way to the cable car. At the beginning, I told you that the way people came up before it became a really popular island is they came up by mule. Well, they have a cable car system that now does that. The mules are still there. And they had a big battle between the mule people and the cable car people because they were afraid they would be put out of business by the cable car. So they kept the mules too, and the percentage of the fees from the cable car go to those people so they're not ruined. So anyway, here's your cable car entrance. There you're waiting for your turn, and here they come up, and boy, you get a beautiful view coming down from the cable section. There's a nice shot of Thera. And then here's, again, looking down to the ships. This is one of these 3-mast special tour boats that I think only has 29 people on it. It's very well known. And then when you get to the bottom, here's the view back up. And you can still see where the donkeys are, the donkey station. There's the donkey station. And then here's a view of the donkey walk as it goes back. And then you can walk it up yourself if you wanted to. I would walk down but not walk up. And then we stayed down there waiting for our tender. And here's some of the ships that were in the little port area. They have a couple of restaurants down there as well. Nice little view looking up. See all the different layers of volcanic ash. Now we're on our tender heading back out to our ship. And here is the 3-mast ship as we go by. Oh, so of course we have to have our obligatory shots here. It's got the sun in the right position this time. So here's Laura and Matt with Thera behind them. And then, of course, here's Sherry and I. And we're both a little tired in this particular picture. And then now we're on our way out. So this is the lighthouse at the end of the island. And then here we are shooting back a little bit of the volcano. There's Thera along the edge. And then our last shot, you get the whole volcano section. And you can still see Thera and Oye in the background. And so now we're off to Mykonos. Sherry and I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please come by our YouTube channel at Bob Packett, and please subscribe and leave some comments. Thank you very much. I've been doing podcasting on history for over 15 years. I've got over 4,000 shows, and I've done CDs, which of course can be sent out as USBs. So if you would really like to get more on history for free, then come by my website, as you see here, historyaccordingtobob.com, and see what's there. So thank you very much again.